All right, hello everyone, it's silverkyle, and this summer, 2021, will mark the end of an era for the PlayStation Network. On the PlayStation 3, the PSP, and the Vita. We will no longer be able to buy digital games on these systems anymore. For the PlayStation 3 and the PSP, they are closing them on July 2nd, 2021. And then almost a full 2 months later, the Vita will close after that. Now, PlayStation 3 and PSP, I'm surprised that they actually kept those servers up for that long. Like that's a crazy long time. PSP is, I think, 2005, so that's 16 years, and the PS3 was launched in 2006, so 15 years. Still a very long time that they kept those servers up and running. Vita, is only since 2012, so we're not getting as long of a lifespan, not even 10 years with this, but that's, we are getting an extra 2 months, and I don't know if that's maybe because that it is a newer system, first of all, but also maybe because the sales for the Vita digital games anyway are still potentially high enough that it warranted getting an extra 2 months. But to me, what this says is that if there's any games that you wanted on these systems digitally, to go out and buy them. Or another thing too, because I don't really know what's going to happen, is once that the PlayStation Network is down, am I still going to be able to go and download the digital games that I bought? This is one of the reasons why I don't like digital games, because that's a separate video altogether, but it kind of worries me. So to me, go out, down anything that you've bought already digitally on these systems, go out and re-download them, make sure that they're on the console so that you can actually play them. And then what I'm going to be doing is thinking about potentially getting another few games. For me, it's PlayStation 1 games because I can play those on the PS3 and the Vita as well. So it's kind of cool that you can play these on handheld at the same time. That's a really neat feature that they have there. I still probably prefer it on the PlayStation 3 because it's a much bigger screen. And now that I'm used to the switch to the Vita screen, especially when they do the 4:3 aspect ratio, isn't exactly what I'm looking for. But PlayStation 3 games or PlayStation 1 games on the PlayStation Network for the PS3, there are games that were released on PlayStation 4 and Switch as well. For example, the Final Fantasy games. So you don't really need those because they made HD ports of those games where the character models are actually HD. They look very much similar to their counterparts, except for Final Fantasy VIII: The Remaster. That looks like crap. They actually changed things up a little bit, in my opinion. There, Squall looks like crap in that game. But anyway, so unless you're a purist, I don't really think that you would need necessarily Final Fantasy 7, 8, or not. Well, maybe 8. 8 would be a good one to get, actually. But in my opinion, Final Fantasy 9 is by far the best one. I just recently did a video of the physical copy of this on the Switch, the HD port. But if you're a purist and you want the actual, old school look to it, the Final Fantasies might be something that you would look into. Speaking of Final Fantasies, something that they did not make an HD port of would be Final Fantasy Tactics. So that's another game that potentially would be something worth looking into, especially but you never know. I feel like we could maybe finally get Final Fantasy Tactics, get an HD version of it because of all these. Lately, we've been getting a few more tactical games. What was it? The Triangle strategy game that's coming out next year for the Switch. That looks freaking awesome. So maybe we'll get something, a resurgence of Final Fantasy Tactics. That would be freaking awesome. And then we could get some sequels, some fun stuff that could eventually happen. But those are Final Fantasy games. I feel that Square does a pretty good job of re-releasing these games every once in a while. They've been doing a lot with their other properties we saw it on the Nintendo Switches, getting a bunch of those. The Legend of Mana, was Saga Frontier or something like that. I can't remember what was. I actually saw, of all things, I saw it there. Yeah, Saga Frontier. Look at that. When we get manuals, we used to get, that's another thing too that I kind of miss from the PlayStation 1 era, is that when you got a cover, it was the actual manual. If they didn't really want to, if you're going to be making a cover already, put the manual in there. Anyway, what I think would be amazing, I would love for an HD port of this. I would love for a remake, a full like a full remake of this that we got in like Final Fantasy VII. But so far we haven't, and it's not on PlayStation 4. I hope that we get it with the PlayStation 5. So far, nothing is The Legend of Dragoon. If you do not have this game, but you are a fan of those old school Final Fantasy games, 7, 8, 9, that I was talking about, you owe it to yourself to try out The Legend of Dragoon. This is by far one of the best RPGs ever made from that era, from turn-based games. It still holds up today. The battle system is actually quite fun because there's action time sequences. So seriously, go check this out. It is freaking awesome. And another game that I have I have Final Fantasy 9, I have Final Fantasy 7 and 8, and The Legend of Dragoon, and this game right here on my PlayStation 3 from the PlayStation Network. Because I just wanted them digitally, even though I had them physical. It's the convenience. That's where I like digital games. There's some things that I like about digital games, and others that I don't. But that is Harvest Moon, Back to Nature. This I don't see. I mean, we did get technically with the Switch, we ended up getting Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town, which is a remake of this game. But if you want the original game, here it is right there. I love that version. That's the version that I grew up with. So I totally am a big fan of it. But what I'm also going to get that I don't currently have, either physical or digitally on the PlayStation 3, is Mega Man Legends 1 and 2. So those are the games that I kind of thought of that would be worth checking out. For the Vita, if you're thinking of specific games that, because a lot of games, well, not a lot of games, but there are a few games now for the Vita that have gone up in price. There was a time there where Vita games were extremely cheap on the physical side of things, but then they kind of all soared up. And now, for example, Persona 4 Golden, if you want to get that physical, you'll be paying crazy amounts of cash. So if you're thinking of maybe getting that digitally, this would be a good time to get it before they close the servers on August 27th. So that's pretty much it. Just a short video on the PlayStation Network's, unfortunately, meeting its demise. July 2nd for the PSP and PS3, and August 27th for the Vita. So thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to be picking up anything digitally from the PSN. If you have any memories about the PSN, go nuts down in the comment section. Thank you all for watching. You have been bearded in. Beardage!